Good morning. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. It's lots of things going on. It's a little bit brighter. It's a little bit sunnier. Spring apparently is coming. I'm much more of a warm person, a summery person than a wintry person. So that makes me happy. The mornings are a little bit lighter. And that's all good. And so let's get into it. Let's talk about all of the things that are new in the Microsoft Teams development world and all that sort of related stuff. And yeah, there's plenty of things to talk about again this week. And the first one is interesting because it's a continuation of something I've been talking about for a while now, a couple of months. I talked about it over Christmas quite a lot, and that is how Microsoft Teams apps are expanding out across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem to become not just Microsoft Teams apps, but kind of other things as well. And so what we see is that happening a little bit more now with Teams apps now available on the Microsoft 365 Android app. Now, let's just wind back a minute. So Android is obviously one of the many clients for Microsoft Teams. And so it's only coming to Android right now. I think we can probably expect it to come to the other places eventually. But this is not Teams apps available on the Teams app. That's a thing you can do already. That's not a surprise. This is Teams apps that are on the Microsoft 365 Android app. So this is a little bit analogous to the Microsoft Teams apps showing up in office.com, which is kind of that wrapper. This is where you go as an overview, your recent documents, actions you need to take, apps showing up there. And now we see the same thing happening on the Android side. So you can kind of see in this blog post, a Microsoft-based blog post, you can see this announcement. You can kind of see, they've got some screenshots in here about what it might look like. The nice thing for Teams developers is that there's really no change to your code. You don't need to do an awful lot. You need to be using the V2 of the SDK. I talked about that a lot in the back end of last year, so you can go and check back into sort of previous blog posts that I did and weekly updates and stuff to see what that means. But it's not a big change. There are some breaking bits depending on how complicated your app is. And you also need to be using the latest Teams app manifest, or at least version 1.13 or 1.13 or higher, which is the same thing that you need to do to expose your Teams applications to Outlook and to Office.com. It's that same thing. Now we're seeing them showing up in the Microsoft 365 app on Android. So this is good. This is interesting. It's a continuation of what I've been saying around Teams apps expanding out and being more available everywhere. I think it's exciting. I do wonder if they're going to have to come up with a different name for Teams apps because Teams is soon just going to be one of many different places that these apps are going to be available. But if you're a developer in this ecosystem, this is really good because this is this kind of write once and it will run in all sorts of different places, dream really. And that was always the case with Teams when it first came out. You'd write an app for Teams and it would work in the Teams desktop client, it would work in the web client, and it would work on the mobile apps. The mobile app story has been a bit up and down, if I'm honest, but we're there. And now we're seeing even more so those Teams apps being available in also more places outside of Teams. So I think that's kind of exciting. I think it's interesting. It's a good blog post. You go check it out. And there's a video in there as well. If you don't want to do any reading, you can just watch the video. It's all good. All right, let's change subjects to Azure Communication Services. I don't think I've done a weekly update in months probably without mentioning Azure Communication Services. It's really kind of hot right now. One of the things I don't talk very much about are the SMS capabilities of Azure Communication Services. So as well as all the voice over IP stuff, which I tend to focus in on, Azure Communication Services also has an SMS engine, like a capability to send and receive SMS messages and do those kind of long-lived conversations that you often have, with customer services that you have over SMS sometimes, where it knows who you are, it knows what orders you've done, and it wants you to rate their service and all that sort of stuff. So you can do that kind of thing with Azure Communication Services if you want to. This is an interesting blog post in a kind of, I don't want to be, I don't know. It's about AI and it's about ChatGPT. And what they've done is they've taken AI, the OpenAI, and they've taken the SMS capabilities of Azure Media Services and they've smashed them together to make a demo. And it's cool. We're seeing a lot of this. I think it's good. It's definitely good from a technical perspective to see how it's done. Is it useful? Different question. So you can see here, like you've in their GIF, like they're making these conversations over SMS, but you're talking on the back end to a OpenAI instance. Those are the APIs, OpenAI calls you're making and receiving to get the answers, if you like, to your questions or the responses to what people are saying. And then they're wrapping that around the SMS capabilities of Azure Communication Services. And there's code for this on GitHub, and there's a bit of like how to get started here, how to set it all up. You will need an API access for OpenAI, your endpoint. It's all good. And here are the instructions that you need to give your AI. And you can go and do this yourself if you want. And then you too could talk to OpenAI via SMS if that's the thing you want to do. So kind of interesting blog post for technically what's possible. I think more so how easy it is now. And we're seeing this more and more with these previously quite complicated capabilities being made very simple by abstractions, whether that's the SMS abstraction that's inside Azure Communication Services, which honestly is every bit as good as something like Twilio that's been established for a while, or any of the other developer libraries for sending and receiving SMS, or whether it's the abstraction around OpenAI, which is interesting. And I think we can have a long conversation about whether it's useful and ready and all that sort of stuff, but probably not inside a weekly update. If you've got strong thoughts about that, let me know. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's come back to sort of developer focus. And if you're a .NET developer and even if you're not actually, but if you're wanting to get into Microsoft Graph and you've not really kind of made that jump yet, and you're not really sure how to get started with Microsoft Graph, it seems like a big thing. It seems like a lot of different things. You're not really sure where you go, where you start, how you start, and what the various toolkits, toolboxes, abstractions, helper libraries, tools, all those things that can really get you kind of jump started. This is a really good course that's coming up. It's a hackathon, actually. It's not really a course, it's a hackathon. And it's being done by Microsoft. And it starts on the 1st of March and it goes on for 2 weeks. And you can kind of dip in and out as much that 2 weeks as you want to. It starts off with this kind of front load bit of learning and sessions. And there's some big names in there, like Scott Hanselman, big name. So sort of starting off with getting you excited, giving you the tooling, giving you the places to go. And then throughout the next 2 weeks, you can check in with doing Ask the Expert sessions. So you can kind of bring back the work you've started, ask questions, get answers, get unblocked, get kind of help and all the rest of it to get you going. And then at the end, there's like a little prize giving or like a competition, I guess, for the most exciting deliverable. I don't know how they're going to judge it, but there's prizes to be won. So you can win lots of things. The first prize wins an Xbox and a £200 gift card and £100 Azure credit and a special badge on Credly. So what's not to like? Lots and lots of things to do there. So if you have the time and if this lines up with you, you don't have to be a developer. They're pitching this at everybody being invited. So if you're not a developer but you want to get into doing development on Microsoft Graph for your company, for your organization, for an idea that you've had, great. If you know what you want to build, that is helpful. If not, it doesn't matter. They will bring some example scenarios that you can kind of pick one that you like the look of. That's quite good as well, because if you're starting out for the very first time, it can be hard to know what's possible, like how hard this stuff is going to be. So picking one of their ones might be a good idea. If you're already an experienced developer, you might want to choose your own, because then you can flex it as you wish, and just use their expertise, really. Just kind of check in with them periodically to say, hey, I'm stuck on this, can you unblock me, etc., etc. So interesting. I think it's a really good idea. It's all virtual, so you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to pay anyone anything. It's all free. You do need to register, so go and do that. There's a registration process. I put it in the blog post. So go and do that and enjoy the hackathon. It starts on the 1st of March. All right, let's cover this one really quickly because quite a lot of the internet has covered it already. Yammer is changing its name to Microsoft Viva Engage. No real change for developers, although it'll be interesting to see where the Yammer API goes. It's been the what's the polite way of saying this? There isn't one. It's been the unfavored child of the API world for a while. Some bits of Yammer have come into Microsoft Graph, but mostly around reporting on the reporting API endpoints. Quite a lot of the old Yammer API still existed, I guess still exists. I'm not entirely sure where that's going actually, but the headline is that all of Yammer is changing its name to Microsoft Viva Engage, which completely kind of makes sense in that Viva Engage, was doing that kind of thing anyway. It was always slightly kind of odd, and this name change does kind of make sense, and I feel like it should have happened quite a long time ago, and it just took until now to kind of get done. So just so you're aware, really, there's no, like I say, there's no real change that I'm aware of to the developer stack. I imagine all that stuff will still be called the Yammer API for a really long time because of things like namespaces and all the rest of it. I hope they keep it going. I haven't heard that they aren't and they're not, but I'm going to go and check on that. But yeah, no real change other than just to be aware of it. You'll start to hear Viva Engage more and more and Yammer less and less. All right, and just one more thing to tell you about, which is that I'm really excited to be talking and speaking at vNext, which is coming up soon-ish. It's coming up in April, so a couple of months out, but it's in Denver, Colorado. It's a really good conference. It's an international conference. It's focused on the Teams ecosystem, so not just developers and not just IT pros, but everyone across Microsoft Teams. I went in 2019, didn't go in 2021. There wasn't one in 2020, so I definitely feel like I'm overdue one. It's a good conference. If you can get there, I would highly recommend it. You will learn so much from just being around the people that are going to be there, and the kind of the level of experience, the level of knowledge. You could ask anything about Microsoft Teams. There's an awful lot of people that have been around the block a few times and know the history of things, know how things were and how things have evolved, and that can really help if you're stuck, if you need direction, if you want people's opinion on things. So it should be really good. I do have a discount code you could use if you want to as well. I think the discount code might just be Morgan, which is cool. Nice of them to make a discount code just called Morgan. If not, there's a link that is on that blog post, which will definitely work and definitely apply the discount code. The discount code is 25% off, so it's not nothing. And so that's nice. And so if you are planning on registering and you weren't quite sure, then do use that discount code because it gets you a quarter off, which is great. I'm going to be talking about bot experiences and designing for good bot experiences. And I feel like that is super relevant right now with things like ChatGPT, with bots being completely in the news at the moment. What does that mean? What does it mean to make a good bot experience? And I'm going to bring that up to date with what's the latest advances in things like ChatGPT. What do they mean for building bots today? So you can read the session on the abstract page if you want, but that's what I'm going to be talking about, and I know there's going to be lots and lots of really other good sessions as well that you will benefit from. So definitely want to put in the calendar if you can make it at all. If it's at all possible for you to make it, you should definitely try. That's what I think. All right, so that was it for news for this week. Lots of things happening. I'm going to go and make some more video now. Got some cool video to make, actually. I've been quite excited about today. Should be quite good. And so look out for that coming probably towards the end of the week, knowing how slow I am at editing, but we'll see. And anyway, whatever it is you're doing today, have a great one, and I will see you on the next update. Have a good week.